like this pink one.
How many cons is this for you guys?
First for both of us.
Yeah.
Are you planning to explore it on the floor and decide?
No,
No, not yet.
I've always wanted to come to Comic-Con, because obviously I live in Ireland, and I've always wanted to come because I'm a little bit of a geek at heart, so I was kind of a little bit disappointed I wouldn't get to go out and buy comics and get action figures and all that kind of stuff, but it's great. So far it's been great. I mean, we literally arrived and went with the camera here doing the interview, so we haven't seen much yet, but I think we're preparing ourselves for the madness, and we get the whole hands.
Which is nice because we're both a little, like 37% freaked out.
You actually have part of your ship now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Oh, no, we haven't seen it yet. Yeah, we haven't seen it yet. So I did hear that there's a guy dressed as Hook though, and he's sort of introducing people. So he's got the full jacket and everything.
Does he really?
Yeah, I feel sorry for him. I know what it's like to wear that jacket for the day.
So what are just to get started, a lot has happened in the last couple of seasons. What are the challenges and themes going into season 3, without giving too much away?
What are the challenging?
What are the challenges and themes going into season 3? And season 2 was the restoration of magic into this world.
I think the nice thing about this season, just sort of in terms of form, is that it's being done really as two, almost like cable seasons, because there's two blocks, right? As opposed to having to stop and start. It's so I can't speak to the overall themes because honestly we don't know entirely what those are going to be. But we know, like Colin's been saying, is that right now everyone's trying to get to Henry. So intuitively, I think everybody has their own version of that. Why and the motivation of each character, but I think that's kind of where it is right now.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think there's elements of they have to try and put aside their differences, whoever it is, for the greater good, which is to find Henry, and maybe there's an element of redemption, I guess, for some of the characters trying to redeem themselves and towards. Because in the finale episode, Hook sort of says to Regina, or the previous one, what will happen if I do get my revenge? Then he's got nothing to live for. And maybe he sort of says, maybe it's time for him to try and find something else, trying to redeem himself a little bit. I guess that's an element of what it's about. It's difficult to know because we've only read 2 episodes.
Yeah, we've only read 2 episodes. Yeah.
We don't really fully know.
Where's the new season at?
Pretty much exactly where it left off. Exactly where it left off. And, which is good. The first episode is really good because you see what happens to the people on the boat, and then you also see what happens to Leo when he lands. And obviously, he's being shot.
It's really well crafted in terms of the vacillation between where they're at and where I find myself. I think it's particularly well done.
Yeah. Good use of the word vacillation.
So I had to do it twice.
Will there be a sort of moment where Balefire kind of this is the first time he actually goes back to the Enchanted Forest since he was a child? Do you have kind of just sort of a nostalgic moment or sort of that arc that I'm back home?
I get what you're saying, and I thought about that, but the answer is unequivocally no. There's too big a job to do in his mind. I mean, I just now was able to get out, this thing that I've been carrying around for ages, and to hear it back, you know what I mean? And I have my son who's in danger, and so there's a lot going on. There's not time to be like, oh, remember I used to play ball there.
Oh no, I mean in the sense that I'm back from the place I was running away from.
I think that the time for reflection for me is going to be later. She's answer. 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. Speaking of Henry, do you think that Balefire knows what Peter Pan wants to do with him, or why he's after him?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I mean, he certainly has had some experience with Peter Pan, and knows a bit about what he's about. And Peter Pan's a well-liked sort of guy from anybody that's spent any amount of time with Peter Pan. Nobody comes away and like, he's not so bad. He's all right. You know, so
that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Obviously, Balefire did spend a lot of time in Neverland as well. So. Kudos to you.
Well done.
There's a lot of interconnectivity between all the characters, and as things go along, you keep finding out that somebody actually had a run-in with somebody. How much of this are you anticipating other meet-ins, and how much did you know of the connectivity of other characters before you started filming those scenes? If that makes sense.
Well, I didn't technically know that Hook had offered to be his stepfather. You know, that he was willing to at the start. I mean, there's a couple of things that, you know, it's Eddie and Adams will give you a broad outline as to what the way they see the character when I first started, and then that's all you know, and then you sort of get script by script. So some of the stuff that I've been told hasn't just happened yet, but it'll be interesting to see.
I knew the broad strokes of the arc for last year going into it, and part of the reason why I took the job is because they were so good at selling this idea. You know, the story. They're master storytellers, and sitting there on their couch, and they're like, "So here's what's going to happen, and they're going to do this and this, and then Captain Hook," and you're like, "I want to do it, yeah." Let's do it. But there were specific things like I didn't know that he was going to offer to be my stepfather. So there is a bit, but you find out more as you go along. I mean, this sort of, but that's kind of what this is. It's a breathing, living thing. It sort of unfolds on its own, you know, and like even some of the fence posts or the buoys that they set up that they want to hit, sometimes they sort of shift based on what they're seeing and what's happening.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.